Coming right up.
It's about time Hragnette got started on her mine safety report. So here we go. Just make a space for... Or don't. Where's the paper? Where's all your paper gone? I suppose we could scribble it on the back of that, but it's liable to confuse the Jarl. This spell book, it might have a few empty pages available to... Never mind then. There's some empty space here, so we could at a pinch write the report in the margins of Line and Lure, this fascinating treatise on how to fish at designated fishing spots. However, even putting the paper situation to one side, we also don't have any ink or a feather. This hasn't been properly thought through in the slightest. Putting all that to one side anyway, how about some breakfast? Nice loaf of bread. And some cheese, perhaps, or a piece of... Why are you carrying so much, Hragnette? Oh, I went back to Embershard Mine while you weren't here and picked up everything I'd forgotten the last time around. Well, that was very enterprising of you. Still, it might be best to lighten the load a bit.
Let's sate that appetite,
Well, let's sate the heaviness of Hragnette's bag first. Worth noting, first of all, is the fact that apart from salted meat, she can't cook. So let's get rid of all the raw ingredients, for which Orgnar is willing to pay 0 septims apiece, but beggars can't be choosers. And then maybe buy some stamina-restoring foods like this soup and this other soup. This is all thanks to Gourmet by Simon Major 616, by the way.
All right then.
One thing she is qualified to do is cook meat with a little salt. The rest of cuisine is currently a mystery to her, also thanks to Gourmet by Simon Major 616. But he is planning a future update which changes it so you just need one recipe book for each food group, such as soups, pies, breads and stuff. That'll take a bit of the hardship out of it. The shop here should have some ink, papers and quills. Everything a civil servant needs to write her report into the safety of mines in Falkreath.
The Riverwood Trader is everything you need in a general store.
I'm very glad to hear that. I hope you have writing supplies so I can sit indoors for hours on a beautiful sunny day like this.
Some may call this junk. Me, I call them treasures.
Recipes, robes, egg, soul gems, recipes. These are made of paper, but 41 septims is too much just for paper. Helm of Graf the White. The banhammer's incredibly cheap for an enchanted weapon, so I don't think we'll bother selling it for now. And why do you have a crossbow now? Well, I thought it might be useful. It's more powerful than the bow I have, and also more user-friendly. I do generally have to juggle quite a lot of things going on during a fight. Surprisingly many fights, for what should be quite a peaceful career in the civil services. Right, certainly don't mind trying it.
I better get back to cleaning the store. What a mess.
Yes, it looks absolutely ruined. As if a hurricane made of bears came through here. Afternoon, Camilla. There is a very small chance when you try to buy or sell a large quantity of arrows and similar the game will crash, so best to save to be safe.
Take what you need, my friend. Within reason, of course.
I'm here to buy some crossbow bolts if you have any.
Looking to protect yourself or deal some damage?
Well, I just said the crossbow bolts, so I suppose I'm looking to deal some damage. Enhanced bolts? Those are a bit expensive, so perhaps save the expensive stuff for if we're certain a crossbow's the way forward. Ah, here's iron bolts anyway. Get rid of some of these to lighten the load.
Well met, friend. New to Riverwood? How can I help you?
I don't believe I've seen you around here before. Seems like a nice little place, though.
We're a small village, but we work hard and take care of our own. Only worry we've got is the war reaching this far.
I know, we certainly wouldn't want that, would we? It's quite a small village you have here, though, so with any luck, the war should just blow over you. Anyway, let's talk about something nicer now. Is that your mill back there?
Years past, the lumber was used for houses or furniture. Now, the soldiers just buy it all. The thought of my wood being used for weapons makes me sick.
I know, but you could always move somewhere else? No, that's a very insensitive thing to say.
Aye.
It's a lovely little town, isn't it? Though sadly not one swimming with writing supplies. Let's say hello to this woman here.
Can I help you?
No, you probably
All right,
can't.
then.
You can make paper out of wood. Well, those bits there are too splintery. But here we have a bucket that looks like it's free to a good home. This is a blanket. Those are towels. That's an absolutely gorgeous view of a very large mountain. That's a scrubbing brush. This is wood. I wonder if he'll let us take some.
Riverwood's agreeable enough, I suppose, for a North village.
Oh, well, la-di f***ing da. You, work with wood somewhat, don't you?
I work at the lumber mill, but I escape into the forest whenever possible. Are you a hunter by chance? The hills surrounding the village are ripe with game.
I don't know if this is gaining us access to the wood, but still. Would you say you're particularly good at it?
I don't like to brag, but I once took down a bear at 300 yards in a blizzard.
Now that is impressive and practically impossible for me to believe.
Farewell.
Look at that. The exact same tank top and white shirt. So then, time to acquire some wood. Now that that's out of the way, only the small hurdle of emptying the basin remains, which must be done in secret because the clothes can't simply be picked up and moved for some reason. Very similar style. Hragnette is no thief, of course, so we'll leave the clothes here. I said we'll leave the clothes here in the salmon rack where they'll stay nice and clean. Now we just have to hope Hragnette remembers how to make organic paper. Put a little bit of wood in here. Take the scrubbing brush. And there you have it. Freshly made paper from all natural ingredients. With this paper in hand, we're one step closer to Hragnette being able to write her report. Oh, joy and rapture! I really can't wait to get started. Sarcasm is a very poor look on you. I'm sorry, that's a pretty patronizing thing to say. It is no fun, but, well, you're the one who wanted to be a civil servant. Who's this chappie, anyway? I think he's from interesting NPCs. Decent technique.
Greetings, stranger. The name's Yormir, and I'm at your service. Let me know if there's anything I can help you with. Perhaps you need your boots shined, or your tunic washed, or need a letter delivered?
I'm Hragnette of Falkreath. I don't suppose you have a quill I could use to write stuff with?
Oh, right. I knew I forgot something. Is it a long missive? Perhaps
Oh,
could
no,
memo-
I wasn't asking about writing a letter. About you writing a letter for me. I just really need to borrow a quill and some ink. For stuff.
Well, maybe you need someone to chop you some firewood. Or brew you an alchemy potion. I think I have a recipe lying around somewhere.
You are quite the multi-talented individual, but I really just need writing implements to write stuff. With implements of writing for the writing of to write stuff.
That's right. And I assure you, every service I offer will earn your complete satisfaction. In fact, I could be your
Complete
personal assistant.
Satisfaction.
clothes and
That
carry equipment.
sounds brilliant.
Consider me your personal pack mule.
Well, it was lovely to make your acquaintance. I'll consider it.
Really? I'll do everything you ask. Just say the word.
Good to know. Good to know. I'm leaving now. Bye, Hjoromir. It was lovely to meet you. I'll be sure and do this again sometime next era. I'm sure he means well, but it's a bit pushy. Quills. Ah, quills are feathers. For feathers you need birds. There's sure to be some birds living in a forest like this. Where are the birds? You get a lot of ancient ruins here in Skyrim. It's that sort of place, really. Unfortunately, we aren't in the market for ancient ruins so much as for birds. And perhaps some charcoal or a nice plump squid from which to milk the ink. I assume that's how you get ink, right? Milking squids? I'd really prefer not to speculate, actually. Well, you're probably going to have to speculate if you want to get any ink. Birds? Maybe there'll be some up there. It's going to be a bit difficult to get at them without getting wet, but... Now, if we're careful along here, we should be able to... Perfect landing. Just up here now, it shouldn't be too hard. Shouldn't be too hard. It shouldn't be too hard. There we go. An easy climb, really. Here's that lovely elderly woman's cabin, right next to the goblin encampment. Maybe she has a quill and some ink she could lend us. That's just a vegetable garden. In here we have... Here we have some very unusual feathers. Sure she won't mind if we borrow these.
I'm just a poor old woman, dear. No need to trouble yourself with me.
Well, that's the feathers taken care of. All we have to remember now is not to eat the feathers in order to find out what their first alchemical effect is. All we need to find now is some ink. Where does one go to look for ink? Nest. We could get some spare feathers out of there. And you know something? Maybe in the tower someone has some ink going spare. Afternoon, sir. I was wondering if I might get some ink. Of course it's bandits.
Gonna die for that.
Right, it's worth bearing in mind you have to slow down and reload the crossbow for several seconds after use. Well, that seems to be that taken care of. Now, any ink in here? Any ink? They've got a little mead keg. Some cheese. Some cabbage, some honey. Actually, the honey might be worth having for alchemy. Up here, a chest. Some money and a soul gem. Well, that was definitely worth climbing all the way up here for. No ink, unfortunately, but now for the nest. How does one get up there? Very carefully, that's how. Unfortunately, the nest is empty and the bird is long gone. But at least the view's nice. And one false move will mean Hragnette goes plummeting 500 miles. To be dashed to pieces on the jagged bridge below. But luckily that hasn't happened. Free arrow. We're making loads of progress on that all-important mine safety report. I think our next play is going to be to head back to Riverwood and see if anyone's willing to lend Hragnette some ink.
New face, and the right fair one at that. Here for work?
Sort of. I suppose you could say I'm on a business trip. Riverwood is a lovely little village, isn't it?
It's not that bad. We work hard, try to do right by our families. At least the damned war hasn't gotten here. Yet.
Well, here's hoping for the best. I might be here for a while longer, actually.
Got business here in Riverwood, eh? There are worse villages. Aye.
What do these do? 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 What do these do?
There once was a hero named Ragnar the Red who came riding to Whiterun from old Rorikstead.
It doesn't much seem as if any of these can be turned into ink, but at least we'll have a few spare potions to sell for some spare money. Got to be careful not to turn the hag raven feathers into a potion, of course. I don't quite remember what they do with apothecary installed, or what they do without apothecary installed, but I'm sure they're useful for some potion or other. Of course, we get more use out of them as pens, if, that is, we had some ink. Does Skyrim even have ink as an item or a feature available for use? I am pretty sure I've seen an ink bottle or two on tables in places sometimes. Well, why worry about that when we could have a little jam session? Alright, that's enough of that.
Faendal thinks he can woo Camilla Valerius away from me. She's already mine, I keep telling him.
Oh, really? You and Faendal both like the same woman?
Camilla Valerius knows I'm the best man in Riverwood. That elf is kidding himself if he thinks she would choose him over me. I've seen him sneaking over to the Riverwood trader to speak with her when I'm not around. He's wasting his time.
Right, yes, wasting his time. Because two people spending time together never blossoms into a real relationship. If I were you, I might talk to this Camilla person about my feelings rather than talking to a complete stranger I met playing instruments in the pub.
Is that sarcasm? I've heard better wisecracks from Orgnar. Still, you have a point. Camilla letting Faendal visit her isn't a good thing for me. Here, let me give you a particularly venomous letter. Say it's from Faendal. That should get Camilla to stop inviting the elf over.
Are you kidding me? This is the most childish thing I've ever heard.
Until next time.
Sven's fake letter from Faendal. Dear Camilla, I'm a true-born son of Valenwood and could never befoul my bloodline by courting an Imperial. I hope we can remain true friends providing you understand your people's place in the Aldmeri Dominion and respect me as such. Well, of all the arrogant, foul, tricksy, arrogant, foul things to do. The Aldmeri Dominion believe in the supremacy of high elves above all. They're pretty horrible to wood elves, actually. No, this is definitely not going to stand.
Maybe you could talk some sense into my pig-headed brother.
You've got more problems than a pig-headed brother, I'm afraid. There's a chap trying to trick you into believing Faendal, who I think he's the wood elf who works at the lumber mill, was writing you a particularly foul letter.
What are you talking about? What's in the letter? Oh my. He wanted me to think Faendal wrote this? Thank you for telling me the truth. Could you talk to Faendal as well? I'm sure he'll want to thank you for standing up for him.
Certainly will.
All right then.
Don't suppose you'd like to buy a bunch more potions? Well, that's one particularly foul bit of manipulation thwarted. And I suppose we should tell Faendal as well.
Riverwood's agreeable enough, I suppose. For a Nord village.
Sure it is. Listen, you and Sven are rivals in love for Camilla Valerius from the shop, aren't you? It just so happens Sven was trying to trick Camilla into thinking you'd written her a particularly venomous letter. But I ended up telling her the truth about that. You know, 'cause it's the right thing to do. So I suppose now you'll have Camilla all to yourself. You be sure and treat her right, you hear me?
I appreciate your help. Please, take this. Some gold I've saved up from working at the mill.
Thank you, but I wasn't trying to. I mean, I didn't do this for... If anything, I did this for Camilla. Well, good luck to you. Look at this. 3 of pretty much the same top. The Black Vest Club. Although I think Gerda's is slightly different.
All right, then.
Well, that's Hragnette's good deed for the day. And fortuitously enough, it kept her from having to think about her report for a couple of hours. And now... And look, it's almost 8 now. Really too late to even think about writing the report. Isn't it nice how things work out sometimes?
Take what you need, my friend. Within reason, of course.
Look at this. Fishing rod and Colovian fur armor. Ah, more importantly, some iron bolts.
Not bad. Reminds me when I first started.
Stormcloak shield. No. 3rd era Colovian fur helm. Armor crafting resources. Well, why don't we see what Esfazinda's put out recently? The rustic satchel could be useful, and surprisingly expensive if we ever get a better one and decide to sell it. The rest of this, she isn't really a light armor person, so no. Whereabouts? Oh, looks like it's down there. Looks like there's pretty good money in these. They're all from Esfazinda's new armor mod, which you can find on their Tumblr page, Sephore's Mods. Now what about a pair of Troublemaker's hand wraps? What do they look like? Not bad. Quite a rough and ready style.
Need something?
I suppose you have a bottle of ink about your person.
Clean mug around here somewhere.
The Sleeping Giant Inn. In a few minutes, this should be the Sleeping Hragnette Inn.
Need a room? Talk to Delphine.
Do I have to? Delphine's kind of a dickhead towards strangers.
That's her business, not mine. Probably not yours either. Between you and me, she could use a bit of warmth.
Aye, I suppose so. Do you know your shoulders are, poking through your dress a bit?
All right then.
We can get that for you. We just finished the timber for those catapults.
You're that visitor been poking around.
I am indeed that visitor been trying to get her hands on a quill and some ink. Can I have that room again, please?
Sure thing. It's yours for a day.
Thank you. And if you happen to have some ink, or a piece of chalk, or a piece of charcoal, or perhaps a dictaphone, a typewriter, this is the wrong room. A typewriter,
How's about it?
a tape recorder, CD player with a blank CD, or maybe a microphone and I'll forget it.
Me to pay for them?
It's only right, seeing as you're the important lumberman.
Is there ink in here?
Come
No,
to an
just
honest day's
boots.
work at my mill, and I'll pay you an honest day's wages.
Ink under here?
Drink.
No. No ink, it's just a bed. Well, to be realistic about the whole thing, it isn't as if Jarl Sigurd is going to be beside himself with worry, on tenterhooks, in agony, just waiting with bated breath for that report on mine safety. Especially since he's been known to hire bandits to look after mines instead of paying actual professional miners. Is there any reason for you to be in this room at all, Gore? There a reason for you to be in this room, you and your massive warhammer? And your loaf of bread? No? I suppose there isn't.